Alright guys, please excuse the strange location for my reflection piece. I'm currently sitting in the Brisbane airport, and due to some major travel delays back to Canada today, it's a good time for me to reflect a little bit more on our evidence-based project in relation to how I've used that a bit in my life and my career in the past several years. My background is in human geography and environment. I finished my degree at the University of Victoria in 2012, and from there I went back to my hometown of Terrace, BC to work for the Kitimat-Stikine Regional District in relation to waste management, in particular to education and outreach in the diversion area, which would be called our Extended Producer Responsibility Programs, similar to take-back programs for tires, batteries, cell phones, pharmaceuticals. There's quite a long list there, so that was my main role from the past 4 years before I came to a master's program. So I think the thing that I always reflect on the most when looking at evidence is, and what I found most helpful when I was working, was the skills that you learn during your maybe undergrad or master's degree on how to properly source evidence. Like we described in the last class, what's the difference between primary and secondary? What's greater literature. Although I didn't write technical reports or I didn't use kind of like academic sources in my everyday information I gave to local residents. When you're going on the internet, being able to make sure that you find information that is actually right. You're not getting it from a random website, it's from a reputable website. What I found was a lot of industry-based websites that I found are statistics, and those needed to be accurate when we were giving them to our managers, to our residents, and as I reported to a board, I had to be able to make sure that what I was giving them was the right information. So a lot of where I found my information came from sites like the Ministry of Environment, which is an arm of the province of British Columbia. So they enacted the Environmental Act as well as the Recycling Regulation of 2014, and a lot of the information on my day-to-day strategies were based off of that. We also used the Government of Canada website and statistics when looking at like methane emissions in relation to landfill and portraying to residents why they needed to divert and the importance to that, and the importance of connecting that to kind of this larger global issues of climate change. So the other thing that we often did was we had consultants come in to do a specific kind of project for us, whether it's a biologist or kind of like a waste management specialist, and they would put together statistics that were very specific for our area. Often when I was doing research as well, I would look at other jurisdictions. So we would call other coordinators in other areas to see what they had been using, what statistics they had found on participation rates. So again, it was very industry-based information opposed to a general academic referencing or sourcing that we used every day. So two projects in particular that I remember where I feel like we definitely had a bit more evidence-based sourcing was when I would go out in the field. So for example, I followed a garbage truck for 2 weeks straight to collect raw data on how many people were participating in our curbside collection program. We then took that information back, ran some stats on who is participating daily, were they participating in just garbage, just recycling, and formulated that again to give to our board, which again had to be accurate when we were portraying if we had been effective in rolling out our programs or not. We also had people like a woman named Sarah Wilmot who did an overall paper on assessing if our curbside collection program was going to be feasible in our area. So again, we did use a lot of statistics and a lot of what we might call evidence, but that came from more of a locally generated source opposed to kind of these larger academic referencing. So as I said, environment and sustainability were definitely on the basis of all the projects that we did. going out to communities to talk about education and outreach in regards to waste diversion was really important in helping people understand how their day-to-day activities really did impact their use of natural resources, and how that kind of correlated in with climate change and responsible consumption. Yeah, so that's all for me. Have a great afternoon, guys. Thanks.